My bill should become a law because it requires intense background checks, calls for permits to own and use the firearm, and provides a way that firearms can be tracked from when purchased through as long as they are still in use. Today, when you want to buy a firearm, you are able to simply go to most sporting goods stores where you can purchase one if you have the money. With my bill, you can't simply walk in and walk out with a firearm. There needs to be a process where the seller reviews the history of the buyer as well as the history of anyone that buyer will allow to have access to the weapon. But not every gun background check is the same, and their mechanics can be confusing at first. People get around some background checks because the existing laws are too weak to stop the person or discover a historical issue that indicates that person may use the gun in the wrong way. The single largest gap in the federal background check requirement is that unlicensed private sellers are not required to conduct background checks. This is simply a way for convicted felons to get around the background check, and it ends up with a person that has already done time in jail for a crime committed to be out in society with a gun. The National Institute Criminal Background Check System, or NICS, is all about saving lives and protecting people from harm. By not letting guns fall into the wrong hands, it also ensures that timely transfer of firearms to eligible gun buyers. There are rules for background checks, and there is the opportunity that more can be added to make sure that person purchasing the firearm is capable and responsible enough to own it. These checkups can lead to different categories of weapons and even require a buyer to pass a test to get a permit for each type. While owning a weapon takes great discipline, many have used them the wrong way. Weapons need to be used in the right way, and if this bill gets passed, it will help make that happen. To carry a weapon on your side, you need to apply for a carrying permit, which is important to make sure that there are not people carrying a gun who have had historical reason for not carrying one. But that by itself doesn't stop people from owning them. I believe there should be a requirement to have a permit to even be possible to own the weapon. Having these permits make owning a gun safer for you, and if you're confronted by a police officer, you can give them the permit so they know that you have it to be safe and not to harm anyone. The process of acquiring a gun sometimes can be loose on the corners, and people try to find loopholes to try to get their own weapon. Unless you have a permit, publicly carrying a gun in California is against the law, period. But you may be issued a permit to carry a pistol, revolver, or other firearm capable of being concealed upon the person if 1. You are a good moral character, 2. Good cause exists for the issuance of the license because you are a member or your family is in immediate danger, you meet the certain residence requirements, and 4. You have completed an acceptable course of firearm training. There are only a few steps to getting these licenses to carry a weapon, but I think there should be even more steps. I also believe there should also be following ownership so the government can confirm that the owner is still capable of owning this firearm. Once a gun is purchased, who knows what that person is going to use it for? Maybe hunting, self-defense, or even crime. It's hard to tell because it's not possible to trace those weapons. How often do federal licensed gun dealers sell guns that are then used in crimes? It's hard to know because for nearly a decade such gun trace data has been hidden from the public. Even local law enforcement had been, until recently, barred from accessing the database for any time but narrow investigations. I believe that this isn't right and there should be a way for law enforcement to track the weapon. Tracking weapons would provide a safe guard in a case a gun gets in the wrong hand to help get that weapon out of those wrong hands if it is used harmfully. The National Firearms Act branch of ATF maintains this registry. Now known as the National Firearm Registry and Transfer Record, the registry includes an identification of the firearm, the date of registration, the identification and address of the person entitled to the possesses the firearm. This branch keeps a record where you first purchased the weapon, but that's it. If you were to move or you pass the gun on to someone in your family who then sold it, there would be no way of getting that weapon found and taken control of. Having to apply for a permit could take several weeks, but maybe too long. But that might be too long for some people. to wait, which could lead to more illegal weapons being bought in the black market, which would lead to one more crime. Every place that has been banned guns, either all gun or all handguns, has seen murder rates go up. Even if the guns are taken away, there are still ways to violently hurt someone if you take guns out of play. People will go back to barbaric ways of inflicting pain to others. Guns don't kill people, people do. The study also shows that Russia's murder rate is 4 times higher than the US and more than 20 times higher than Norway's. This in a country that practically eradicated private gun ownership over the course of decades of totalitarian rule and policy state methods of suppression. Needless to say, very few Russian murders involve guns. Even where gun control is at its highest, there is still intense crime that leads to the same result as it would with guns involved. The striking exception in Europe is Switzerland, which has relatively lax gun laws compared to the United States and a relatively high percentage of households where guns are present. Switzerland is the NRA's favorite example of the maximum guns don't kill, people do, because it has a low murder rate. It would appear that we need our less guns laws that are less strict to people. We have to figure out a way that's right in the middle that works to keep our people safe.